Good morning, Giants. We're so glad that you could join us today with Wake Up with Giants TV. I'm Ryan Morris here with your host, Nick Smith. We're going to help you speak up, stand up, rise up, lift up, and wake up. We've got an incredible show for you. Ooh, I'm excited for this one. Ooh, it's going to get awesome in here. We've got an incredible guest. We've done a little bit of an interview before the interview just to kind of get it all going. And the energy is palpable, mostly because I already drank some energy. And we've got Nick Smith. Will you introduce our guest for us today?
Absolutely. Mike Garrick. Mike Garrick is a firefighter, 18 years in firefighting.
Whoa, watch out, ladies.
Watch out, ladies. Yeah, and he's...
We're going to make a calendar today. Sorry.
All right, show's over. That's garbage. Yeah, no, we can't go there. No.
Warning out, Nick, of, if
you don't like strong language, you're not going to like Mike.
Yeah, explicit.
So Mike is he's a fitness, I want to call you a guru, just an expert in fitness, and has been doing that alongside firefighting for years. And I remember meeting you through your brother, I think it was Cy Garrick.
Yeah.
And you guys worked together and owned a gym for a while. But I've always watched you as far as your effort. You are relentless when it comes to your effort. And I've never seen anybody with more energy in my life that shows up and just goes. No excuses, just let's get it done. And so we're glad to have you on the show. Welcome, Mike.
I appreciate it, man. That's quite the introduction.
Yeah,
I made that. It's got to be the organic coffee. I think it's the organic coffee. Yeah.
Is that organic coffee?
Yeah.
You know, it's funny because I do have the reputation for, being very positive and upbeat. But the thing is that most people don't understand that that is something that I got to the point where I understood it was a choice for me to do. It was a choice to actually choose that. And I understood that, hey, you can show up depressed, you can show up pissed off all the time, but then you get to the point where you're like, hey, this doesn't serve me. This doesn't serve me, or let alone anybody else, right?
Yep.
Nick talked about that this morning about being successful. You don't have to have a positive attitude to be successful necessarily. Well, we were talking before you got on, but it makes it way more enjoyable, and it might serve you better to have a positive attitude.
Oh, absolutely. But the thing is that I think people think that there's some kind of secret to having it. And it's just, like Lincoln said it, you got to just choose that. You choose that, and then everything else shows up, right?
I got to grab the nuggets as you say them.
Whoa, no nugget grabbing, Nick.
Already, dude.
He says firefighter, and Nick goes, it's all like, woo.
Yeah. Dang it, man!
Let me give you a story real quick. This is really interesting because at the fire department we're put under a lot of stress, and you get put on different platoons at different stations. And I remember I was at a really, really difficult station, and I remember I was driving to work, and I was already not wanting to go in. I was already not wanting to go to work, and I was starting to become very reactive. I was being reactive to the traffic. And all of a sudden, it hit me after I basically screamed at a car that cut me off. And I was going in, and I thought, I'm letting everybody else dictate how I am going to show up, how I'm going to feel. Because after I would get so mad and get so revved up and just upset, it would take a day or maybe two for me to bring myself down. And I got to the point where I was like, I made a decision right then and there that I was going to stop letting all my external environments, people and situations dictate how I was going to feel and how I was going to show up. And that was the change right there. That was the fork in the road.
Let's talk about that.
It is a choice, right? It is a
100%.
choice.
But I mean, it's a choice, but at the same time, at that point, you can know it, right? But then there's the actual doing it so that you can experience from it, right?
Yeah.
So let me bring into this, because part of our questioning when we go through this is looking at your journey and where you came from and where you kind of woke up and started changing. And I used to ask the question, what was it like growing up? What were your parents like and all of that, and most of us had either really good parents or we had really rotten parents, and if depending on the story we want to tell.
Yeah.
And so, and the experiences that we had around that. But what's more important is in the story, I talk about Rit waking up. And so he's going through his life and nothing's changed. Nothing's different. He's just normal, small, every daily routine is exactly as it has been forever. But then one day he hears the giants and he looks up and he wakes up and he's like, wait, maybe there's more, right?
Yeah.
All of us have that moment in this giant's journey where we just wake up. And it sounds, was that the first time that you woke up to your behaviors, or was there another time before that where you woke up?
That was, I think before that, there was a couple of realizations, but
okay.
At that point is when I actually made a decision inside. Like I could literally feel the decision inside because I was so tired of letting everybody else dictate how I felt. And so when I made that decision inside, that's when things started to change, like dramatically. Like people noticed a difference in me from that day on. But it just got better and better and better because I realized that no matter what happens, that I am actually in control of that. So I mean, going back before that, because I had, I don't know if you guys know Chris Doris.
Yep.
Chris Doris was my coach, and we talked about certain things because I would basically have this thing where I would have really, really high energy, and then I would swing all the way over here to this side where I would get very, very like depressed. And I didn't understand what was going on. I thought, what in the heck is going on with the way I'm feeling? I feel almost like bipolar. And I got to the point through some help with Chris Doris that basically what it is that I, like all these expectations in my head were causing me, these thoughts were causing me to feel this way. And so I'd be way up here. And then when things wouldn't go the way I expected, I would swing all the way over to this other side. And it was this really wicked cycle that I had to climb out of.
So, yeah. So speaking of that, so going on that swing, but you climbed out of it, or did you realize that it was okay for you to do that and then learn to, do you know what I mean? Like some people think, oh, I'm broken if I'm swinging all the way over here, or I'm bipolar or I'm borderline or all these things. Right. But part of it is recognizing that we're going to have cycles like that. We're going to go back and forth. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Absolutely. Because so the best way to speak to that is that a lot of people will judge themselves, like you just said, say, like they'll label themselves like I'm a failure or I'm an idiot or whatever it is because of that thing that they've gotten into. But the thing is, it's all just habits. And so I had a habit of thinking a specific way. And all I had to do was understand. I had to step out of that thinking and like basically understand that I'm the thinker of my thoughts, that I'm in control of that. And then I need to observe and catch when I'm starting to go down that path of whatever that negative path is, whether it's depression, whether it's anxiety, whether it's fear, whatever it is. There's a very specific way that I'm thinking that got me to that point.
Right.
And you can't obviously you are where your attention goes. So if you pay attention to the negative and you try to use your willpower to get rid of it, all you do is you get more of it. So I had to just understand that I need to check those thoughts and I need to upgrade them with some other type of thoughts or actions, and then things just change. Like you don't have to like will it. You don't have to shame yourself into anything. It's just like a diet, people talk about, like fat shaming and things like this. It's like, that's not the point. The point is just getting into better habits. And then you just do it, small and little at a time. And you start to see those results, and then those results will carry you farther. You don't have to believe in it. You don't have to, get mad at yourself. You just have to like be aware and learn.
Yeah, I love that.
Are you catching all these nuggets, Nick? Like he's like the Nolan Ryan of nugget tossing. Holy crap! It's like wind up, throw, wind up, throw, wind up, throw.
Like a machine gun.
Yeah.
Boom.
I'm not taking notes, but I hope you are.
I've got the start of like 72 nuggets of like, it's all about habits. Oh crap, you are where your attention goes. Oh crap. I'll rewatch this.
Well, I love what you're hitting on because this morning I did a video on grit, and persistence. It's not even, you can label it grit or persistence. It's that perseverance whether you feel good or not, that you're committed to creating something different in your life. And I think what happens is we don't accept what is. Like, we don't accept it that I've got this bipolar feeling, right? Or experience. We don't want to accept that. So in fighting it, it becomes more of a problem. But when we accept it and we decide, you know what, this isn't working for me, I'm going to shift that. I'm making a decision. I'm cutting off any past behaviors, and I'm going to go forward in a different way. The persistence is what keeps it going. Now you're a fitness instructor, and man, did you get your body overnight?
No.
You like my rhetorical question there? Yeah.
How did you get your body?
I wanted to speak to something that, Nick, you just said that I just, I've been studying the mind for, man, it's going on 15 years now. Like, Nick, when you and I first met, man, you were the first one that gave me some great nuggets, man. I still have, in fact, I should have got that out. I still have the notes that I took when I was with the meeting with you at the Salt Lake City Library. Like, you gave me some great stuff. But I want to share with you something that I learned that was really interesting when we're talking about habits. And that is that, there's three major parts to the brain. You have the top part, the big wrinkly part, which is the prefrontal cortex. That's the thinking part. You have the middle part, right, which is the mammalian, which is responsible for feelings. And then you have the oldest part, which is the reptilian brain, which is responsible for, it's your subconscious. It's where all your habits lie. Now, here's what's interesting. Okay. Your prefrontal cortex, it's the thinking part. It's the part that speaks in language. It's where your dialogue is, right? That's that annoying voice that won't shut up. Okay. And obviously you have your feelings, and your thoughts create your feelings, right? And then you have your subconscious mind. And this is where people get messed up. Okay. Is that we try to use our brain, or our prefrontal cortex, our thinking part of our brain, to change our habits, when in reality, it's that reptilian part that's responsible for all your habits. If we were to put a percentage on which one has more control, the prefrontal cortex is 2% and the subconscious is 98%. So if you think that you're going to think yourself into a new habit, you're crazy. It's never going to happen. Your habits are always going to take over, but then we start to get caught up in you're battling yourself. Your thinking brain is battling your subconscious brain, and then you kind of go in this cycle. And then it just wears people out. So you just have to be like, okay, well, I understand that my subconscious, the way it communicates to us is through urges. So this is where like addictions come in, when you get that feeling, that urge of wanting to have the thing that you shouldn't have, that you decided not to have. Okay. And here's another nugget. Okay. Here's how you actually create new habits, because you can't break habits. You have to replace them. Right. But you want to get out of that vicious cycle of arguing with yourself. Okay. So let's say you decide to stop smoking, right? And you made that a commitment. And here's what happens. Pretty soon you'll have that urge. Okay. Well, that urge is your subconscious mind saying, hey, you've smoked for 15 years and it's all about survival with the subconscious mind. And it's time to smoke, because it's when you always smoke, right? Okay. Well, a lot of us would use willpower and try to willpower through it. Well, willpower is still an intellectual, prefrontal cortex action. Okay. When what you do is you have to go, you acknowledge that and say, hey, I'm trying to not smoke. I'm not a smoker anymore. And then here's the key: change your attention, switch your attention to something else. Okay. And then that's the process. Urge comes up, acknowledge the urge. That's not me anymore. I am not a smoker anymore. Okay. Change your attention.
Are you ready? Hey, Nick, are you ready for a little bit of a smart aleck comment?
Yes.
If all this firefighter talk didn't get Nick going, the brain talk will.
I know how much likes the brain talk.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So
he's over there
brain,
just like
the brain. In fact, Ryan and I connected through a meeting I was doing on the default mode network and the brain, and how your brain never shuts off. Yeah. It never does. And so when you're talking about efficiency of energy, it takes a lot of energy to consciously think something through. And so that willpower that you're talking about is a high cost effort.
Yeah.
And so it's limited in resource, and your brain is all about efficiency. And so it takes that default mode network, that subconscious, unconscious part of the brain. you automate as much as possible. It's not by the number of things you can do while thinking, it's the things you can do without thinking by which we advance. That's Alfred North Whitehead on that. But you're right. I mean, you go into the deeper part of the brain, it's designed to support you. And if you smoke for 15 years, all it's saying is, hey, dude, I'm just here to support you.
Yeah.
And you're like, hey, that's not me anymore. I appreciate it. I appreciate you. And then you shift that attention.
Yep.
I love it, dude. I just recapped what you said. I just wanted to sound smart, Mike.
If you're, you did. If you do it either or, your brain is going, look, I have to decide between not smoking and everything that brings, and smoking and everything that brings. And it's this argument back and forth. But when you say, hey, I'm not a smoker anymore. Okay. Tony Robbins said that identity is the most powerful force that humans have. And so if you change your identity, well, then your body's going to follow suit. See, your conscious mind has the ability to accept or reject, right? Like any ideas that are coming in, you can use your reasoning and accept or reject it. Your subconscious mind does not. It only knows what your conscious mind feeds to it on a regular basis. So you fed being a smoker for 15 years to your subconscious. And so you have to just switch that and feed it something else, right?
Yeah.
This is where any addict that has recovered has replaced it with something else. I follow a guy named Ben Booker that I absolutely love because he was a hardcore alcoholic and he became a very, very successful fitness guru, as you would call him. And that's what he did, is he took this over here and he knew consciously, he knew this was going to lead him down a really bad path, right? But no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't get out of it until he replaced it with fitness. And then that was what was actually going to replace and give what he was getting out of this other thing, right? But that his subconscious mind doesn't care, right?
Yeah,
whatever your subconscious mind says.
Yeah, I think about the obsessions that I have, right? And how they used to be something else a long time ago when I was younger. And those switched from obsessions to now like passions, right? In a sense, we call them passions when they're good and addictions when they're quote unquote negative.
Yeah.
Right?
That's what I have, is I have a passion.
Yeah.
I think there's even passion fruit in here.
Man, maybe that's a distinction for us, is passion versus addiction, right?
I have a passion for carbohydrates. And so I had to do exactly what Mike is talking about. It wasn't, it's the same thing. It's an addiction, the food, the carbohydrates, the sugar. I had to just tell myself, I don't need carbohydrates. I don't need sugar. And I stopped doing that. And then I replaced it with other good habits. I do eat lots of vegetables some days, those types of things. And as I did it, I lost 50 pounds.
Wow.
It just melted off.
In what time
it wasn't
frame?
up until
Right.
about a 3.5 month, 4 month period.
That's right now.
And it's still happening. My new goal is I was at 254. I'm about 204 right now. My new goal is 190, and adding exercise and some different things.
I got to go buy Ryan new shirts. I mean, look at it.
Yeah.
All the shirts are too big for him now.
They used to look like this.
He's gonna come on the show like gunning, dude. Yeah. I love it.
I got inspired by Mike Garrick, just climbing mountains and all kinds of intense things and showering in waterfalls.
What you just shared
is that for me personally, one of the questions that you guys posed to me was why did you get into what you're doing? And right now, I'm firefighting. That's a career that I chose, but at the base, it's not who I am. But the reason why I chose firefighting is, and one of them was the schedule. Like, you have 2 days on and 4 days off. Like, I absolutely love that. But the other one was the excitement. And some people will call it adrenaline junkies and things like that. But to me personally, I love adventure, and the adventure of all these different things. Like right now, I'm really big into ice baths, and people, it's kind of trendy right now, and people like to do it and stuff, but they don't understand that the whole reason that I like to do that is the adventure part. It's the cutting edge of like learning about your body and connecting with nature and, you know, and connecting with your body and, you know, connecting your mind and your body together. That's huge. That's massive. You got to have, you know, like that balance. I'm a Libra, and I have the balance between, you know, going out and actually, you know, living on the edge versus, you know, having that stability in life in other aspects. And it's really important. If I just work, and I don't go out and I don't do any type of adventure, like I feel my spirit and soul like dying and withering inside. And so part of what gives me that passion, you know, you want to talk about passion and energy, it's living on that edge, right? It's going up and pushing that edge, you know, and seeing what you're capable of, and learning how you interact with, you know, if something scary happens, like how do you act with that? Like how do you think, and how does your body react? And then using that as training, you know, I think that's a huge part of it.
Let me ask you
this.
this.
Nick and I work at an RV dealership, and you know, you talked about your soul dying a little bit every day. That doesn't happen for us. We have tons of passion at work, and we live right on the edge day to day at RV dealership.
Well, that's why you have to find it, right? You have to go looking for adventure. That's the whole thing.
Let me ask you this. You know, if somebody's watching this and they say, I'm not like Mike, you know, not in any way. I'm not adventurous. I don't go out there. I don't push. I've got to have plans for everything. What would you say to them in that? You know, how do they find their adventure? How do they align with your message?
I'd have to say that first you have to ask yourself, you know, is that true? A lot of times, you know, we're lying to ourselves just because we're scared. So is that true? You know, because people say, well, I'm not like Mike. Well, of course, you know, everybody's their own person, but, you know, would you like to be more like that? Right. And if that's the case, if that's an honest answer inside, well, then, you know, some people, you know, like it's small steps, and other people they go jump right in, right. And blow through that, you know, that restriction. So, you know, it could be something as easy as doing like a cold shower in the morning to going down to your local airport and doing a skydiving session. Like it really just depends on what you want to do. And I think one of the biggest things that I've learned in the last 10 years is that the number one problem for everyone is they're fucking lying to themselves, right? And when I say that, I mean, like you lie. Here's the first effort. We lie about who we are, what we truly want, because the painful realization that we might not get it is too painful. So then we tell ourselves, you know, because people are always like, well, Mike, I don't want a six pack. And I'm like, really? You don't want a six pack? You know, and people will say that all the time. And what they're saying is, I don't want to do what it takes to get a six pack. And that's okay. That's a true answer. But that's like saying, I don't want $1 million in the bank, right? Like, that's just ridiculous to say that. So if they were honest, you know, because if people are honest and say, hey, I just don't want to do that. Like, I'd rather do these other things, man. Like that's honesty. And I think that's where we need to get back to is that truth, is tell the fucking truth. Like in every aspect, you know, it hurts, it's painful, but like they said, you know, the truth will set you free. But it's all these areas that we're not like lying about, like maliciously lying, but there's all these other lies that we're just not quite telling the truth. And then that's why I think we're stuck.
Okay. So let me ask you this.
Fear, right, Nick, too? Like, so sometimes, and I like what you're talking about, because we had a guest on, Melissa Ross, and Melissa was scared to go do, and it was go-karting. Like, it was something as simple as go-karting, but she was nervous about going go-karting, but she had committed to her kid, hey, I'm going to go. The day gets closer and closer, and then you get up to the edge, and she's like, but she can't not do it now because, you know, her kid will, you know, be let down.
Yeah.
And she went and did it and had a blast, and you should have seen the smiles, you know, on her face. But she had this whole fear around, go-karting's scary, and you could crash and you could die, and, you know, all these different things that could happen. That, you know, and she's thinking as a mom and as, you know, somebody that worries a little bit too. But really, the end result was fun, excitement, all these things. It was totally different than what she had built up in her mind, where it goes back to, you know, the reality, the truth behind it was go-karting's fun. Go-karting's awesome. but she had built up this lie about go-karting's scary and it's dangerous and all these other things, you know. So it's exactly.
Are you guys ready for the next huge nugget?
Yep, ready.
Okay. All right. So obviously, as a firefighter, we deal with fear all the time.
Did you just run your fingers through your hair?
I did. You guys know that my hair is invisible? It's all there. You guys just can't see it.
Keep going. Yeah.
Mine's a green screen. I just go bald on the green screen.
You know, I get to the point where people ask me that. They're like, would you have your hair back if you could? I'm like, I don't think so. You know, I shave my face, I shave my head. I'm done.
Like brushing your hair back. Like,
yeah. Sometimes I go like this just to feel hair again.
Anyway, keep going, man.
No, so
holy shit.
I don't want to say that I'm an expert in fear, but I mean, I learned how to deal with fear on a regular basis. And here's the biggest thing about fear that I believe, okay? And that is that fear is misinterpreted energy. So here's what happens. You got that?
Got him getting it.
You have this situation, okay? And you can interpret it because that's all we're doing. That brain is a meaning-making machine, right? So you're coming into a situation, right? And you start to feel anxiety. Well, what is anxiety? Anxiety is nothing more than like worry and doubt that's being impressed onto that lower part of your brain, right? The feeling part, which then if you make that a habit, then it becomes right subconscious. So you don't even know why you're anxious, okay? Because it happens that fast.
Yep.
But it started with how you're perceiving the situation. So if you meet any type of firefighters, okay, they're a different breed because obviously they're running into the burning building while everybody else is running out. And if you talk to any firefighter, they are super excited, okay? And is there fear? Absolutely. But guess what? They took that fear, which is nothing but energy, and they turn it into excitement. So fear
into something else, yeah.
Excitement very easily because that energy, that all it is energy coming in, and you're going to turn it into anxiety or excitement, okay? Or also the word you used was passion, okay? And the muscle that you use is your perception. And the only way to change that is through experience, is to practice changing it. So for example, I love rattlesnakes. I love when I see them. And most people are like, dude, Mike, you're crazy. And I'm like, look, it's a free adrenaline rush. And you come upon this thing that's dangerous.
It's free.
Right? It's a free adrenaline rush, man. It's like 10 cups of coffee, you know?
Yeah, we're gonna have all these viewers like going to look in holes and in caves and on warm rocks to try to find a rattlesnake.
When I see it, I'm like, oh man, you know, I mean, I get excited about it because ever since I was a kid, you know, my dad, he planted that seed. He's like, look at this, you know, it's beautiful, and look how amazing it is. And you know, it's you have to respect it because obviously it can hurt you, but just like anything that's exciting has the possibility of hurting you, like flying in a plane. You can possibly die, right? Driving in a car, riding your bike when you're a kid. The first time you rode a bike, like the whole point is that you could crash, right? When you get to the point when you can ride a bike just fine, it's not that exciting anymore. But when you're a kid and you first start riding it, it's the most exciting thing there is, right?
Right.
So it's going out and finding those things and pushing your limits, right? To feel alive and to feel like you were when you were a kid and to build that up, right? So changing your ability to be able to perceive a situation differently. Now, obviously fear and danger are not the same thing. You know, you gotta prepare. You know, I'm not gonna go out and find a rattlesnake and then just pick it up and be like, you know, I'm gonna get bit, right? I'm gonna respect its space. I'm gonna watch it. I'm going to be careful, right? And I'm going to enjoy that. When we go into a fire, we have thousands and thousands and thousands of hours of training, right, to do this stuff. Okay, so like we're not just going in. So you know you have to learn how to prepare yourself. That's the best way.
Can you talk about finding comfort in uncomfortable things? That's something you say consistently.
Oh, absolutely.
The Mike Garrick nugget bag. Here we go.
All right. So part of it is, all right, you guys know about feeding your body, right? Like we're always working to feed our body. powerful nutrients. So that's a process, right? You have to kind of learn what that means. So, well, what are good proteins? What are proteins? What are good fats? Right? You have to learn what it is that is good, and then you have to put it into your body on a regular basis, right? And then you start to see what that actually does. Well, the mind is no different. So, like, one of the first things that you have to do is you have to feed your mind with powerful nutrition. And so, like listening to this podcast, reading powerful books, spending time around powerful people. Okay, that's the first part, because that's going to start to change the way you think about being uncomfortable. Because what you start when you don't know, you think being uncomfortable just sucks because it's uncomfortable, right? But then when you start to link being uncomfortable with growth and expansion, getting in better shape and being able to control your emotions and more health, better relationships, and on and on and on. Like, you understand that being uncomfortable is like the entry, is like the price you pay to the expansion and the growth. So the people that I follow, they're seeking it out. They're getting into ice baths every single day, right? They're pushing themselves in really hard workouts. They're going back to school and learning a new career, so that they can do something differently. They're going through the awkward stages of relationships so they can improve those. Like, when you start to practice that, then pretty soon the way your mind looks at it is different. And that's it. That's the process, is finding ways that you can upgrade that way of thinking about discomfort, because it's all relative. Like, my version of being uncomfortable is different than other people's, right? So you have to keep raising up your level of discomfort.
I was thinking and having the analogy of a rock. A rock gets its movement from the outside. By itself, it doesn't move, right? But humans, we generate our energy to move from the inside. And so we're not to be acted upon, we are to act, in a sense. And so part of finding that discomfort is pushing ourselves from within to do uncomfortable things. Like you're saying, I don't like cold showers. They're fucking miserable.
Yeah.
But they feel amazing after, and there's some accomplishment in that, because it's a hard thing. It's discomfort, right? Just like climbing a mountain. Who likes to climb straight up a mountain besides billy goats? This guy who freaking goes into glacier water. That guy.
See, here's the thing, you guys. One of the questions you guys asked in the interview questions was, what are some things you've overcome in your life?
Yep.
And it's interesting because when I was younger, the first thing I was afraid of was the dark, right? And I loved the mountains. So the first thing I did is I thought, okay, I've got to overcome the dark. Well, how do you overcome something? You immerse yourself in it. So I thought, I'm going to go up Mueller Park Canyon, up over through that pass, which is Rudy's Flats, and out North Canyon and around, which is a 13-mile loop. Well, I did it in the complete dark, right? I took my dad's pistol. I had it in my back pocket. I went up over the top, and it scared the shit out of me. Okay, the whole time I was scared. But by the time I was done, I had a new level of uncomfort when it came to dark. I'm not afraid of the dark anymore, at least to a certain extent, right? Because there's, it's levels. Okay. The second thing was water. I was scared to death of water. So what did I do? I went and got my scuba diving certification. Okay. Well, guess what? I almost died doing that. Like, they had a malfunction. We were out by Wendover at Blue Lake, which is 30 something feet deep. So it's a couple atmospheres, I believe. And so when you're down that far, you got to be careful coming up. If you just go straight to the top, you can burst your lungs. So we're down at the bottom, and I got some faulty equipment, and it came out of my mouth. And because of my training beforehand, right, I was able to stay calm. And the instructor freaked out, and he grabbed it, and he slammed it back in my mouth and bloodied my lip. And he held me because he thought I was going to go straight up. And we went up to the top, and I was like, no, I'm good. But it could have been really, really dangerous, right, if I didn't actually go through and do the training. And so the next one was, I was afraid of heights. So what I do, I went skydiving. And I almost died then too. Like, when we jumped out of the plane, there was two things. One, I had line twist, which I had to kick out of, which the instructor said that only happens once in like every 200 to 500 times. So on my second time skydiving, it happened to me. I'm assuming for a reason, right? To teach me something. So I kicked out of it. Okay. And the second time, when I was looking down, you're supposed to go into the wind when you land on the X, the big X that they tell you to land on, right? Because I was doing this, I went through and I did it to where it was called the solo. So they jump out with you. And then after you pull your chute, you're on your own. Okay. So I'm coming down and I'm looking down and the windsock, you got to look at the windsock. Well, I misread the windsock and I went with the wind instead of against the wind. And the wind was blowing about, I don't know, 15, 20 miles an hour. So
Mike Garrick coming in hot.
And I did. And so here's the landing. Okay. Here's more grass and here's a bunch of planes. So I came down, completely missed this. And I was probably 20 feet away from the planes. I took 2 steps, went, and it drugged me about 15 feet to the edge of the right where the plane started, right? I jumped up and I was ecstatic, you know, because I like survived it. And the trainers were freaking out because they're like, you don't even realize you almost died, right? But I didn't. And I got past that, right? Okay. I also became a tech rescue, part of the tech rescue team at the fire department, which is high angle stuff, right? Well, then the last one was afraid of speaking. So what I do, I joined Toastmasters and did Toastmasters for a couple of years, and then went and did corporate wellness and taught in front of groups and stuff. So it's like, you know, you gotta have the attitude that you're gonna take your fears and you're going to conquer them and you're gonna turn them into. So just like fear is misinterpreted energy, you could take and turn fear into enthusiasm or excitement. Well, you're gonna turn fear of something else. You can turn it into fuel. It's fuel for what you want to do, but people just they stay away from it because they're uncomfortable. But they don't understand that's where the growth is. The uncomfortable part is where the growth is. You got to be willing to fail faster.
I like that. Yeah, I hear in public speaking, it's the number one fear that people have outside of dying. Yeah. Like they would rather die than get up in front of an audience, right? But here you're saying all these things of you literally almost died.
Yep. And
you didn't die. And here you have these things where you push through and it becomes this fuel to do more and more and more in your life. And so if I were to recap real quick, and then we'll catch up on our questions here, because you're hitting the questions for us. I appreciate you like reminding me to ask those.
Yeah.
That's good. But you look at the journey that you've been on. And you started out as a kid, like all of us do. Your dad taught you certain things. You learned certain things on your own. You had an awakening that really woke you up to how you're playing life. And from there, you started to grow into your giant potential. You're still growing. I know you've got a long ways to go, not in a bad way. Like you're a giant already, but you're not ever going to stop.
Never.
Yeah. That's what I get about you. And so as people hear this journey, it's like, you don't have to be the brightest, smartest, funniest, most confident person in the world to be successful at something. You just got to do it and recognize that you're not going to die doing it. Right.
Yeah.
So
here's something that my brother said to me, you know, when he was going through some of this stuff, and I took it and I love it. It's one of my principles. And that is that when you get better, everybody around you gets better. Right? Like if you walk into a room, you're going to do one of two things. You're going to bring the room down or you're going to bring it up. There's no in between. And so like how you show up is your gift to everybody else. Like, and the only way you can show up more powerfully is to go out and do things, right? That make you grow. Like that's it. That's the only way to do it. So if you want to play small, that's fine. You know, that's your choice in life. But man, you know, if you want to read something powerful, you know, there's been multiple studies of people, you know, on their deathbed and saying what they regret, you know, what their regrets are. And everybody says the same thing. They're like, I wish I would have taken more risk. I wish I would have loved deeper. I wish I would have went out and did the things that I want to do. Right. And the only way to actually do that is to practice it. Because these little small things that you think, you know, like taking a cold shower or getting an ice bath, like it seems like it's not that big a deal. It might be bigger deal, you know, to some people than others, but it's preparing you for those really big things that are going to happen in life, like, you know, like a divorce or a parent dying, or you know, like the stuff that's going on right now with the economy. Like people's nervous systems can't handle that much stress unless they train for it. And if you train for it, you're the guy that's like, let's go. And then you lead by example, and you actually can go through and do things because you're being that person.
So practice, I want to talk about that because practice is another key that people don't lean on enough. They think I've got to make a change. It's got to be a 180 change. I'm going to go in a completely different direction on something I've never done before. But practice is that incremental improvement that you create every single day as you learn something new. If you didn't have the practice, you might not have kicked out of that parachute. Absolutely. If you didn't have the practice, you might have panicked and shot to the top in that scuba diving accident. If you didn't have practice, you wouldn't know what to do when you came on an accident, somebody's bleeding to death. It's like you lose your mind when you're not practicing. So when chaos occurs and you've got to make this big shift, you haven't done anything to prepare for it. So Viktor Frankl, something that people don't recognize about him is that he practiced everything that he learned in the concentration camps before he ever went into the camps. And so his biggest misunderstanding that people have is that he came up with all of his ideas during the camps. No, he practiced years and years before so that when he got in there, he was prepared to handle it.
Yeah.
And he talks about that. And so that's a underutilized 1% better, 5% better each day, 10% better each day is going to go longer than just trying to change completely. Do you agree?
Yeah, 100%. I remember Garrett J. White was talking about, how he got so good with speaking. And because people will say to people who are already at a certain level, they'll be like, oh, wow, how did you get there? And they think it's like they were born with this natural talent. And he said, I would take and I would do a 60-second video every single day for 11 years. Every single day, I would scream into my phone and share my message, okay? And I would rewatch that 1-minute video and I would say, what can I do better tomorrow? That's it. He's like, people don't understand like the consistency of the habits and doing what you want to get good at, but you're gonna be crappy at first, obviously. Like you don't know what you're doing, and nobody likes that. Everybody wants to be an expert, but they don't want to go through, like you said, the practice of looking stupid, right? But that's even, when people tell me they're like, I don't want to go to the gym because, I'm going to be judged. And I say, hey, look, newsflash, nobody gives a shit. Like everybody's at the gym looking at themselves. They're not looking at you. Okay. Yeah. So if you think that people are going to judge you, yeah, they're going to judge you, of course, but they're going to judge you regardless. That's just a fact. Like how you show up, you're going to get judged. As soon as somebody looks at you, automatically you're judged, right? The part of it is just getting through that, getting past that part. And the only way to do it is get there and then realize, oh yeah, nobody does give a shit. I'll never forget. The best lesson in this. I thought people were paying attention to me. I was down on the treadmill a long time ago when Bountiful had the rec center in the bubble, and I'm downstairs and I'm on the treadmill and I'm running full blown, like sprint running on the treadmill. And I've got my headphones in and I'm not paying attention, right? As much as I should. And you've got the track on the treadmill and my foot lands right on the edge of the track, turns my foot this way, and I hit the treadmill going full blast. It shoots me back. I hit the wall, okay? My headphones fly off, right? Instantly, I'm embarrassed, okay? I jump up. I look around. Nobody noticed. Nobody cared.
Did somebody catch that so I could post that on YouTube?
I thought everybody was watching me and stuff. And it's like, here's another thing. Okay. I heard this actually off of, you remember that show Kung Fu that used to come on?
Yeah.
It had so many pearls and nuggets that it's people would make fun of it, but the little kid was being teased, right? And all these kids were laughing at him, and he was getting really upset with it. And he goes to his master and he says, he's like, I'm so upset because these kids are laughing. And he said, do you find it, how did he put it? Do you find it bad that you're providing laughter in a world full of pain? And I was like, huh. And so since then, when you're at the fire department and you become the butt of the jokes, people get defensive and they get upset. When in all reality, when you start going with it and rolling with it, like people, one, they respect that. Two, they're going to stop teasing you because you're not fun to tease anymore because they want to get a rise out of you, But then you lose the fear of that rejection, right? In 2006, I had the highest stress of my life and I developed Bell's palsy, okay, which paralyzes the side of your face. I woke up, I thought I was having a stroke, right?
You have like droop, right? And so
Yeah, whole paralysis of one side of your face.
Wow.
Okay? Scared the shit out of me. It was by far I was trying to shoulder all this stress because before I learned how to actually process and deal with stress, I was just shouldering it. And I was denying it and I was suppressing it. Well, in me, I'm a pretty vain person. I care about my looks and things like that. So, I mean, this was a big hit. I got to go to the fire department and I got to go to work with a paralyzed face. Okay. And I remember the first week was rough, but then all of a sudden, I accepted it. And I'm at a party, a family party, and people are all around me. They're all depressed because of my situation. And I start teasing myself. We start rolling with it. We start teasing myself. Next, everybody's just dying laughing. And it was just the coolest experience because I would take a bowl of soup and I would drink it and it would run out the side of the mouth, and people would laugh until we cried, And even though it was kind of traumatic and it was kind of sad, we flipped it around.
Yeah, good for you.
Something else.
Good for you.
Sometimes you have to do that. Sometimes you have to laugh at yourself and just let it roll off and move forward.
Yeah. It's
accept what is. Sometimes that we talked about that recently is accept what is and be okay with it. Hold space with that. Sometimes laughter is that.
One of the most powerful state changes there are. And so if you learn to use that and to actually accept it whenever it comes, right? Because it might be at your expense, right?
Right.
But who cares,
Nick understands that a lot.
Yeah, it's good though. I can dish it too.
I laugh at funerals. I'm sorry. It's hard for me to that's how I get through, awkward interviews and stuff like that. I just start laughing. And anyway, I'm grateful you're here too.
Let's go back to what would you say to yourself if you were to go back in time and talk to yourself before you had woken up? How would you wake yourself up? This is a new question. How would you wake yourself up? And then also, what advice would you give yourself?
I would say there's a couple of different things.
Yep.
I would say don't take things personally and fail faster because I think that's the big thing that keeps everybody stuck is that they're waiting to be a certain way before they accomplish or step into something. And then when they get criticism, when they get feedback, they take it personally. When, like we said, nobody really gives a shit. It's not about you; it's about them, and they're looking at you and they're saying what they believe, and it just doesn't matter,
right?
And so you just don't take things personally and fail faster.
Awesome. So tell me about routines. Go ahead, Ryan. Go ahead first, and then I'll go into that.
No, you're okay. I was just going to talk about if you knew that to get to the only difference of getting a body like Mike, and becoming the sexy firefighter was just him failing faster. You could fail faster and get there. So work harder, do these, there's certain steps that were required to get that body. You could get there faster, just fail faster.
Oh, here's the perfect example. See this picture right here?
Nope. Oh, there it is.
Okay. So this is Rob Riches. He's got one of the best.
Oh, I thought that was you.
Yeah, that's you, right? That's you. This is Rob Riches. He's got one of the best six packs in the world, right? Well, I've always wanted a six pack ever since I was younger. It's like the icon of fitness, right? It's the hardest thing to get. And so I wanted it for a good 10, 15 years. And people started to tease me about it because I would never get there. So finally, one year, I decided I'm going to do this. And I decided that I was going to do everything that it took to get there. Guess how long it took me? 3 months. After 10 years of working towards it, it took 3 months. And I was at, so this is about 3 to 4% body fat. I was at 3.9. Okay. And so I don't have this guy's got really nice genetics too, right? I don't have real nice genetics. I've got decent genetics, right? But I had all these stories in my mind. But as soon as I made that decision and actually did what it took and got out of the stories, 3 months.
Man, let me talk about that because there's power in 90 days, 12 weeks, 3 months. When I got shredded, it was 12 weeks.
Yep.
12 weeks. When we did the 90-day money program, I think we raised $270,000 in 90 days between 10 people in income. It was 3 months, 90 days. It's amazing that we put out there that it's going to take forever for me to get that. but the reality is when you hyper focus on
50
something
pounds in 3 months.
in 3 months, like there's magic in 3 months. There's magic in the ability to stick with something for just 12 weeks, just 90 days, just 3 months, you know? And so part of that is like, you got to change your habits, because your habits create who you are. Not your, I think you posted this a little while back. It's not your thinking, it's your habits or something along those lines that create your future.
That's everything. Your habits are everything. And people say, well, you know, because people talk about the subconscious mind, and well, your subconscious mind is nothing more than your habits. Like that, it's your nervous system. It's what you've trained your body to do over the years. And so, like, we come back to it. People try to think their way out of it. See, goal setting is a conscious activity, and goal achieving is a subconscious activity. Okay, so that's why you can sit down and you can write out all your goals and never achieve them unless you take the action, because action is subconscious, right? And that's why you marry those two up. And then, like you said, you add in urgency, which is a timeline, right? You do it because you just go through the motions. Like, you don't even have to think about it. You just go, look, I'm going to do this because I know, and everybody knows how to move more and eat less, right? And the more you educate yourself, the more, I mean, I'm still studying. I've been studying it for 15 years, and I've got 2 more books on losing weight, right? Like, because the more I know about it, the more I read about it, the more fuel that I'm taking in, the more action I take in that direction.
Right.
You know, but you never stop. You never stop. You're always, like you said, conditioning those habits. And so you want to look at it and go, hey, it's as simple as, well, what do I want? And then what are the habits that it takes to get there? And then implement those habits and then start going to work.
Yep. And have that commitment. So commitment, Steve Chandler talks about commitment being what you do, right? If you're not doing it, you are not committed. And so if you say that you're going to do something and you say you've been doing it for 10 years, you know, that you've been saying, I want this thing. If you could just say in 90 days, I am committed, not I want, because to want means to go without. Wanting means to be found wanting to mean without, right?
Yeah.
So if you say I'm committed to it, I have the intention to create this and I'm committed to it, your commitment is your action. And so if you can stay with something for 90 days, you can completely turn your life around, completely, financially, physically, mentally. You can be living a different life.
Well, and here's something else too, is that as adults, you know, because there's 2 things that motivate people, pleasure and pain. But as adults, really pain is the prime motivator.
Right.
Which is interesting, because you would think that it would be pleasure, because we're always looking for comfort. But that's the point. We always want our comfort up front. But the law of polarity says that if you have your comfort up front, there's always a price on the back end. It's like taking out a loan. You have to pay that loan back, right? Whereas if you save the money up, then you can buy the thing, and then you can buy it up front, right? You do the pain up front. So, you know, life's just like that. It's one way or the other, but it's just about taking action. And the thing about commitment and action is that you got to link some pain to it. And so this is where, you know, I'm kind of famous for doing stuff like, hey, I will get this, or I'll eat this can of cat food, right? Or I'll pay $500 if I don't get to this point, right? Because you got to pick something that's really painful that you're like, no way. There's no way that I'm going to do this. And then you tell it to other people, so people hold you accountable, because, you know, as adults, we just start to justify and create these stories and then, you know, lie to ourselves. And then what we do is we ruin the reputation with ourselves. So when we say we're committed to something, we're really just lying. So you have to build up that reputation with yourself through success and actually doing hard things, which is another reason to go out and seek discomfort.
I love it. So let's do this. We're wrapping up. It's 9:53. And so I would ask, if you were to give some advice to somebody that's starting on this journey, just barely getting going, what would you tell them?
I would say 2 things. Your environment is so huge that if you can change your environment, put yourself in an environment. So if you want to, you know, get fit, for example, put yourself in an environment with people who are fit. Okay. That's one. And the other one is what you fuel your mind, right? So turn off the TV, stop watching the news and the media, start feeding your mind full of stuff like this, like books, and, you know, follow people that if you do look at social media, that you're going to get value from, and that's going to make you, that's going to plant seeds that are going to help you take the actions that are required so that when they become habits, they're going to give you the results you want. I think those two things would be massive.
Yeah, I think you're right. You know, just feeding what you want. Ryan and I are pretty lucky. Every Sunday we get to jump on a show with a new giant who has new insights. I mean, we're gaining nugget after nugget after nugget. And so we're not grabbing nuggets, we're writing them down.
No nugget grabbing here.
Distinction there. But the challenge is, like, for most people, is that they want easy. They want that comfort up front, like you say. And then there's a cost in the end for that comfort. You can have that comfort. Yeah, here you go. The world provides that for you. But at the end of the day, you got to pay that back. And it's not fun when you got to pay that back. It's a lot of hard work. Whereas if you're willing to put in the persistence day in, day out to create something different, it's like there is no lender in this case. You're your own bank. You're the one that generates. You're in integrity with yourself, because now you're showing up and you're creating that reputation, like you say, for yourself. Oh yeah, I have a reputation of doing what I say I'll do, and I get it done.
My favorite, I guess you could say, spiritual quote came from Brian Tracy, and I think he paraphrased it from the Bible. And it's that you're not punished for your sins, but by them. And I love that, because basically what that means is that you're rewarded or punished instantly for doing what you do inside. You know what you should and shouldn't do. So when you get up in the morning and you go for that walk, you go to the gym, you take a cold shower, you make your bed, you wake up on time, right? You treat your spouse well. Like, all of these things, you're instantly rewarded. That's why they say that, like, when you go out and you serve other people, right, that not only are you instantly rewarded, but the person who's being helped is rewarded, and people that are watching it are actually rewarded, right?
Yeah.
It's absolutely amazing that you actually get that. And if people understand that, then it makes them go do these more complicated, difficult things, is that you're instantly rewarded inside. And what you have inside cannot be taken away. Cannot. You go and you start going through a hard workout, you get abs, you go get your degree, you go and help your neighbor, like, all that stuff builds your internal toughness, your self-esteem up, and that could never be taken away.
That's awesome.
Amen.
Well, what programs are you working on right now? So where can people find you?
So I think the biggest place to find me is on Instagram right now. That's where I'm creating most value at this point. I have a program called Warrior 5, which is a 90-day program. It's a full immersion program. It's not going right now. I'm spending some time focusing on me. I'm rebuilding it. I'm going to start putting out some pretty awesome programs. But if you want to learn more about that, just DM me at Instagram. Find me there.
Okay, perfect. All right, Mike, any other advice or wisdom you want to share with us today? I know you've got buckets and buckets and barrels of, like, information that you've stored in there.
You know what? The first thing that I would tell people is learn how to breathe. Anybody can do it at any time, anywhere. We don't need any tools. We don't need anything. Learn how to breathe. And how you can do that is start paying attention how you breathe, and start breathing through your nose. Just a really quick tip. If you mouth breathe, okay, start learning to nose breathe. And if you do that right there, you're going to notice a big difference in your health.
Okay, excellent. Ryan, any other thoughts from you?
No, there's been enough nugget grabbing talk here, so I'm gonna end it there. Nice job, Mike.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, man. So we'll end the show here with you, the viewer, the listener, the watcher, the one that's deciding to change your life and just become a part of this journey. So this message is for you: is go back through this video and take some more notes, because there's some things that maybe you didn't catch as you were listening through that you'll catch the second time around. And I would say, don't listen to what's being said, listen to what's being heard inside of you. That's the most important thing, because that's what's going to connect, and that's what's going to help you to grow. And so stay committed to your goals, whatever they look like. They can be different. They don't have to look like mine or Mike's or Ryan's or anybody else's. But whatever it is, be persistent long enough to get it. And so, as always, stay giant. Make it a giant day. Thanks for being a part of this, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Yay. That was beautiful, Mike. This is what we call the after show. So if people just, like, clicked off, now we have real fun.
This is when you really start to fly.
This is where you just banter, man. It's nice job, man. Thanks, was perfect.
Man. Appreciate it. There was one other thing that just came to mind that like one of my favorite principles that I should have shared, and that is scale but never miss. Because a lot of times people put too much on their plate and then they think I can't get it all done. But the fact of the matter is that you can get it all done if you scale it down. So if you're going to work out and then you're thinking about cutting your workout out, there's no reason why you can't jump down and do a max set of push-ups. That you can't get outside and go walk around your block for 5 minutes. Like that's something. To stay committed is all about being habitual. And so if you can say, hey, look, I scale, but I never miss. So no matter what it is, I might have to scale it back, but I never miss this thing.
Right.
It's a very powerful.
I like that. So you can scale up too, as long as if you're doing it on a small scale, you'll never miss on the larger scale. Is that kind of the idea?
That is exactly it. That is correct.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
Not to beat a dead horse or anything, but you would think that a guy like you that has so many nuggets, like tons of nuggets, there's been a lot of nugget talk, would have created some sort of a spray or something like that for your nuggets.
Oh yeah.
This is a shameless plug.
What is it? You did create a spray?
I did. Weird. That's weird, huh?
What is it? Let me see that again. You need to tell me what your nugget spray is.
Hold it up to the camera. Let's see if we can get you.
It's a
nope.
You took him out. There you go.
There we go.
There it is.
It's foreskin. It's for.
That is correct.
Foreskin spray.
Natural. It's like a tropical vacation for your boys.
I heard that you could spray it in your ear canal too for dry.
Oh yeah, you just put it on a little ear swab. You put it in there. No more itchy ears.
Well, I've heard
before you go poo.
I've heard what's good for the foreskin is good for the ears.
It's almost like chicken soup for the soul.
Yeah, like what's good for the good for the gander kind of a thing.
For the balls.
No more stuff.
We have we need Pride Smith to hook up with Mike Garrick because Pride Smith made the Testacuzzi and now you got the foreskin spray. Oh, this is perfect. This is genius.
I need to get some samples to you guys. That's the first thing I gotta do.
Yeah, dude.
I'm in
too.
All right.
Yeah. As guys, we kind of need that. This is the after show advertising portion where we talk about rock stars and foreskin.
You're welcome, ladies.
A good product.
Right.
You show me a guy that doesn't talk about his balls, and I'll show you a guy that's not a guy.
Man card gone.
That's awesome. What else are you up to, man? Like, so your Warrior 5 program, what is that?
So basically, it's just an all-inclusive full immersion program that includes everything that we've been talking about. But the thing is what I've realized is with people and changing, you need these mental toughness tools, right?
Yeah.
You know about psychology. You need to know about nutrition, which includes like how to cook and all about foods and everything and how to eat them. And then of course you move into exercise, but it's not just exercise. What about the one of the big things I'm into is something called mobility, which is like, because people are always like, well, is mobility like stretching? It's not. You're training your body to move into the positions that as a human you should be able to get into. So as we get older, we get stiff and we can't move into these positions. So you have to learn how to move into these positions. So let's say, for example, like a squat or a lunge position. If you go into that position and your knees collapse in or your back over arches, or these are all indicators of something going on, right? You have overly tight muscles in some areas and weak muscles in other areas. And so you use like lacrosse balls and bands to smash out and work these muscles and these joint capsules.
More ball talk.
So anyway, it's cool. It's all inclusive. So one of the things that I wanted to change about it is that I used to do it at my house, and I'm thinking about getting like a place, just a small, like a garage, and having it like be like a place where I actually do that, because when I was doing it here, it was causing some problems with me and my wife and things like that. So that's what I want to transition into and have it. It was a 90-day program. I want to compact that down so that it's more of like, it's not quite as long. But I have multiple different levels. Like obviously, if people want to come and do like a weekend, 8-hour a day, 2-day, event, we could go through everything back to back. Or if people want to do stuff, I think the 90-day program will be more like an online program where people can take it more easily. And maybe we'll get together like once every week or 2 weeks or something like that.
It's amazing how long 90 days is, man.
Yeah.
It's a long period of time.
Yeah, especially when you're changing, habits or
right.
good habits, yeah, it can definitely be a long time.
Right. But it's short enough that you can do it. You can commit to it. So
hindsight, once you've done it though, hindsight, you look back and you're like, what? Where did the time go?
You went like that.
Right.
When you're in it, sometimes it feels like, when is this going to end? But hindsight, it's easy.
That's awesome. So is it men and women? Men only?
Yeah, no, at this point, it's men and women. Yeah. And I would say probably like, later 20s up to 50s, is probably the age group is what I mostly.
Sorry.
What's that?
I said Nick's almost at you hit an age limit and Nick's sweating it like up to what?
But
I got 11 more years, so I'm good.
Well, the whole point of it was the reason why I came up with Warrior 5, right? Warrior 5 is it's the top 5%, like people who are willing to do what it takes to actually transform and change. And so there's an interview process, and so I would actually interview people and see if they're a good fit, because like we talked about, there's a lot of people that just kind of want a quick fix, and I'm looking for people who understand that it's about going through the pain. It's about actually transforming yourself through being uncomfortable. And so, through interview processes, like that's what we pick up on. And another thing is that we always leverage pain for these people. So I find out what their biggest fears are, what kind of phobias they have, and then we leverage those to help motivate and
let's see that shirt. Show me the arms and everything on it.
He wants to see
you got like the sergeant or whatever, the military symbols.
Yep. I pulled that off of Rogue t-shirts. They have that on the side, and I thought that was super cool. This right here is the class number. So if you go through the class and you actually do, because you have to set a goal, whatever it is that you want. And I'm always I push people to set pretty, audacious goals when they go through, and enough to where it makes them uncomfortable, right? And if they make it through, then they get to go through the graduation ceremony, which we traditionally had up on top of Flag Rock. We would hike to Flag Rock, and then we would do a graduation ceremony up there, and then they would actually get their shirt.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
So you didn't get to go to class 1?
So no,
just kidding.
So the class 2 had a better shirt. The class
right.
My first one shirt, but it's not a shirt.
You're number 1. I'm number 2. Have you seen that song, the Muppets?
I don't think so.
I'm number 1. You're number 2. Don't ever forget, I'm better than you. It's awesome. It's Ricky Gervais and Kermit the Frog, and it's
dude,
it's worth a listen.
I'll have to look that up afterward.
I'm number 1. You're number 2. That's awesome.
That's great, man.
Cool, man. Well, thanks for being on, brother. Appreciate you doing this.
It's been a blast.
When you launch this, let us promote it too on our website. We'll push it.
I will. I appreciate you guys. And Nick, send me. Well, both of you guys just DM me you guys' address, and I'll send you guys some samples.
That'd be good. I'm happy to pay for it, dude.
Yeah, me too.
That's part of it. I know that people, that they try before they buy, then they go in the future. But I'll send out some sample bottles that I send out. So I'll send you guys some samples.
All right, sounds good, man. All right, man. We'll take care.
Okay, see you guys.
Thanks, Mike.